Considered by many to be an icon and by some to be a robber baron, Carlos Slim Helú is one of the richest men in the world. He's owned the New York Times. He owns pretty much all communication in Mexico. But do you know who he was before he was a billionaire? For Valuetainment Media, I'm Gerard Harron, and this is Before They Were Billionaires. Carlos Slim Helú was born on January 28, 1940 in Mexico City, Mexico, to parents of Lebanese and Assyrian descent. He was one of 6 children, and his father was a successful dry goods business owner. Slim and his siblings were taught business from an early age by their father, and by the age of only 12, Slim bought shares in a Mexican bank. Although his father died in 1953, Slim continued to work in his business until he was 17. He attended the National Autonomous University of Mexico to study civil engineering. He also taught algebra and linear programming while at school and went into business immediately after graduating. Working from the strong business foundation built by his father, Slim began his own career as a trader in Mexico and soon went on to start his own brokerage that invested in individual businesses. By 1965, his capital had grown large enough that he was incorporating other companies or buying them outright. By only 1966, the young Carlos Slim was already worth over $40 million US, and his wealth was growing. Although his early career saw him invest in a diverse range of businesses, his main focus was construction, mining, and real estate, and he continued to acquire businesses in those fields. During the 1970s, he continued growing his empire and establishing and purchasing companies in various industries. But by 1980, he had unified his various interests into the parent company, Grupo Galaz, which brought all of his holdings together. In 1982, the falling of prices of oil caused the mostly oil-based economy of Mexico to suffer and collapse, as banks became nationalized and the value of the Mexican peso plummeted. During the next few years of economic downturn, Slim increased his acquisition efforts and gained large shares in Mexican branches of international companies, including a 50% share of the Hershey Company. As the old saying goes, when there's blood in the streets, buy. In 1990, Slim's conglomerate Grupo Carso became a public company worldwide. This is also the year that he began extending his influence into telephone communications, working with France Telecom and the Southwestern Bell Corporation to buy the phone company Telmex from the Mexican government. This was the start of what would end in almost complete takeover of the nation's landline and eventually mobile phone services. And this is the moment you can point to of when Carlos Slim officially became a billionaire. But the man affectionately known as the Mexican Warren Buffett didn't stop there. After decades of purchasing Mexican branches of many international companies, Slim's interests began to reach beyond Latin America. He developed the U.S. branch of his phone company Telmex and also purchased stake in TracFone, a U.S.-based mobile company. Much like his Australian counterpart, Rupert Murdoch, Slim was incredibly aggressive in gobbling up media and communication companies worldwide and consolidating power of narrative. He owned media companies in Australia, France, the Middle East, and even the New York Times. Although Carlos Slim's detractors will accuse him of monopolistic business practices and bully tactics, it's hard to argue with the end results. From 2010 to 2013, Carlos Slim was named Forbes' richest man in the world, 4 years running, with a net worth of over $50 billion. Not bad for a kid born in Mexico City, Mexico. If you like this video and you one day want to be on the Forbes list, you can check out Patrick Bet-David's 20 Rules of Money right here, and you can check out the rest of the Before They Were Billionaires in this playlist right here. For Valuetainment Media, I'm Gerard Harron, and I will see you next week. He attended the National Autonomous University of Mexico to Mexico.